genetic superiority again in such a film like that. Why would there be so much Egyptian symbolism? I mean, there's a point where Wesley Snipes and Ryan Reynolds, who's also in the Nines, and basically resident of the Amnesiac Godhead, and Amnesiac, also a very good Radiohead album.
Indeed.
But you have them walking into this sort of chapel there's all kinds of like window pane glass that has illuminated eyes on it, and just strange, bizarre Egyptian symbolism. And, all the familiars, or the people that wish to become vampires that are still human, get these sigils tattooed on their bodies. And it's just a very strange association with the Dracula story to tie the Egyptian theme into it. I thought that was just bizarre. So that'll be in the upcoming video as well, and that should be out Wednesday. Jake's at some kind of music festival this week where he was supposed to give a talk on synchromysticism, but people actually morally objected to it at the very end. You believe that?
Really? No.
They gave him a slot where he could talk, and he sent me an email 2 days ago that said someone had some moral objections to the material he was going to speak about. How could you? I mean, I don't understand. Synchromysticism is about almost free association. I don't understand how people could not want that to be heard at some kind of liberal music festival. But it was mind blowing to me that they actually canceled his speech. That would have been the first. That would be the first. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I think we have a little bit of lag there. That's why. But I need to just ask Jay quickly about if you know why that happens, because I can't right now off the top of my head I can't think of any reason why that would be.
I don't know. It's not like he speaks openly against any kind of anti-religious themes or anything. He's very, very what's the word? Neutral about those issues when he talks about it. So I don't see what could have been the issue there. It's very bizarre.
He's too much of a free thinker, in the liberal circle. That can be dangerous,
Is there such a thing as being too much of a free thinker? That's a scary thought, huh?
It is.
Okay. Another interesting aspect about that film, Babylon AD, that you really must see, because it's loaded with Illuminati symbolism. Yes. The female guardian of the genetically hybrid girl that they create to basically be the ringleader of the false religion is also the woman who's the protector of Shangri-La in the new Mummy film, Mummy 3. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of symbolism in the new Mummy film as well. Not Brendan Fraser's going to the center of the earth again, and he's in Journey to the Center of the Earth, and basically the person who is the guardian over the hybrid girl is basically takes her to the mastermind or Merovingian from the Matrix. Remember the character, the Merovingian?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
He's the father of the genetic hybrid in Babylon AD, which is the main character in the film.
Really? And that's interesting because those characters, of course, are twins again, right? We're right back to Romulus and Remus, from the
precisely,
Roman
mythology. Or Romulus and Remus, or Luke and Leia, or any of these, unbelievably blatant twin and Gemini symbolism, and a lot of people weren't getting what Jake and I were talking about with Gemini and Aquarius, and basically the completion of a cycle, or Gemini would basically be the beginning of a cosmic cycle or solar cycle in the 2001 basically the September 11th attacks being the beginning of that. The Twin Towers and the dual symbolism of the twins being the beginning of a cycle that ends or culminates in 2012. And, that's basically what the twin symbolism encompasses. And that's why they're showing up so much. And even in real life, you have Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie giving birth to in vitro twins. And the movie Wanted I really focused on big time because it had several overlapping themes concerning synchromysticism. One was the loom of fate. Morgan Freeman actually pulls names from this interwoven cloth or loom that are supposedly just come out of the void or come from God, and are names of people who need to be assassinated. And he's the ringleader. He's the ringleader of this. He basically, deciphers the code, which is binary code, mathematics, And he divvies out to all these assassins the names of people who need to be ritualistically killed at certain points in time.
Mm-hmm.
And what they tell you towards the end of the film is that Morgan Freeman has been doctoring and setting up his own names and just basically deceiving the people that are working there, because every single assassin that works for him came up in the Loom of Fate. Their name came up.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Sure.
So he basically reveals to them as the Pan figure, the star of the show, or the star of that film, stands at the center of sort of this zodiac circle where all the assassins stand around him. And Angelina Jolie is tattooed from like head to toe, which is a sign in ritual magic marking yourself for death. And that coincided with my research into the Heath Ledger research that I did for the 888 Decapitated Heads video that I did with Jake.
You're right.
And he was filming, I guess, the movie The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, and he's played the Hanged Man in like 4 or 5 films, Henrik. It's like absurd. And in the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, he has this Illuminati triangle dot eye on his where his third eye would be, and he has also this like unicursal hexagram and some other sigils marked on his head.
Sorry to interrupt. Is that the Terry Gilliam latest film?
Yes, that's Terry Gilliam's latest film.
Right.
And let's see, Heath Ledger was also plays a soul eater in the film The Order, in which he basically, relieves people of their sins that would not be accepted into heaven otherwise. And he actually is a sin eater for the Luciferian Pope in that. And they actually glean information from people that are in their death throes as they're hanging. So he goes to this underground chamber where he talks to the Luciferian Pope, and in order for him to get answers from the beyond, the Luciferian Pope just drops a random guy on a noose, and as he's hanging there in his death throes, like his last dying grasp, he sort of speaks the future to Heath Ledger. So there's that, and then he was in also the film Casanova, where he plays this sort of masked man, a masqueradian man that alludes to the imagery of Stanley Kubrick's 2001, Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut,
right?
And the Illuminati scene that's famous with all the masked men in the party and the Fidelio scenario.
Yeah.
And he actually at one point goes to Carnival, which is just a grand festival in Venice, and he switches from the white mask to the black mask, like constantly. So it's like the yin yang symbolism, and it's also the covering or the masking or the Illuminati symbolism coupled with that. He's basically hanged again, I think for the 4th or 5th time, because he's also hung in The Dark Knight. And interesting, obviously The Dark Knight, there's a ton of symbolism that could be talked about chaos and about chance and about the reflections of Harvey Dent or Two-Face and comparisons to the candidates that are running for president right now. And at one point, Heath Ledger gives the choice of the 2 boats floating in Gotham City, which is basically Manhattan. And he has both boats loaded with dynamite, and he gives one ship's full of criminals, the other ship's full of pedestrians, and he says he's going to blow up both ships at midnight unless one of the other presses the detonation bomb for the alternate ship. So that's again like yin-yang symbolism and chaos out of order, and that's what he played in that role. And the very last scene that you see him in, he's dangling from the foot. Batman ensnared him in some kind of like noose. And again, he's like the hanging man tarot card, just like Will Smith was in I Am Legend, how he nailed his head and then he was just hanging upside down, identical to the image of the tarot card of the hanging man. And then you have in the film The Ninth Gate, again with the number 9 and the sacredness of the number 9. You have Johnny Depp going into a bookstore where he finds his one of his best friends and book dealers strung upside down by the foot in the exact configuration of the hanging man tarot card.
Yes.
So when you have all these things and you have the possibility of foul play, and it's never good to come out and say that without any proof, but as we said, we call them stars for a reason. They're as below resonators of the heavens above. And with his death, there was just an enormous energy surrounded with that, and you had the Olsen twins, the Gemini twins, associated and being questioned around the last known contact with Heath Ledger. He was in the Gilliam film, which was again, he's wearing the mask of the masquerade and sort of Illuminati-themed aesthetics throughout it, and he played that character in numerous other roles. He was in a film called Two Hands, which was actually a really good movie, where he has a tattoo of a yin-yang sign on him, and there's even a point where he, he's sitting down on a bench and he's talking to a little child who's dressed up like Batman. So, I mean, and that film came out in like 87 or something like that. So it's just those little things obviously don't hold a lot of merit to people, but to me, it's just interesting to see the network of a holographic structure beginning to take place, because if this whole thing is coded, then and the stars are resonators of the heavens, then certainly there are markers that we can see in the past that predict possible future outcomes. And yes, these little things are just definitely called for questioning. They're deserving of questioning, because they're just so incredibly interesting when you put them in the context of what the future holds, you know?
Well, exactly, and I think that there's a very interesting kind of idea here. I think with the fact that one day we might be able to, in some way, kind of decipher, if you will, all the stuff that we're doing in much in the similar way that that you're doing and many other people are doing as well. That if we were to accumulate enough information about all the stuff we're doing, we would pick up on echoes or resonators, as you say, from potential future events. Meaning that
Precisely.
I think the Half Past Human the website, that they have some kind of bot that allegedly is doing something similar that already is into this. I don't know all the details about this, of course, but I know that there are people are into this kind of thing. They're actually watching trends within news and just watching where the news is going, and hence by doing that, analyzing certain sources, many sources, they can project certain things forward. And allegedly, at least, this is a fairly accurate way of doing it, actually.
Precisely. I think Dan Burrish and other people have talked about this looking glass technology that they were able to recover from a downed alien craft. And it would give you basically possible future scenarios, but it would flicker at a speed that was so fast, like a butterfly's or a hummingbird's wings, where it would show you one version of a possible future time tree, and then it would show you another one.
Yeah.
And the way that you would determine the probabilistic reality of what would occur would be how long the images on the screen were there. So the longer the image was there, even if it was for a millisecond or a few milliseconds, that would basically determine whether or not that was the more likely or the higher percentage likely future that we have in store for us. But as I've said before, everything that's possible does happen and will happen. So even paradoxes, like if you were to go back in time and kill your father, would you exist? Sure you would. There'd be a time tree where you didn't exist, but there'd be also a time tree where your mother remarried some other man, and you basically still wanted to incarnate in the time that you chose, or your soul chose to incarnate. And you would basically just have a different phenotype. You might have, blonde hair, or you might be a little taller, but you'd still be Henrik, and you'd still have the memories that you have. So even something as severe as killing your own family line would only deviate or fracture the time tree and make you go into a different direction.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that, and wouldn't it be, what I say at this point is that a new timeline would just develop, meaning that I don't think that I instantaneously would change appearance like that or something because I had different genetics, but it's more like it's a very interesting kind of conundrum or whatever you want to call it. It's like
sure.
I think if we were able to travel back in time and do something like that, that would simply be part of the new timeline. That would be what happened, meaning that everything
And certainly there are beings in the universe that have mastered time travel. I mean, I don't think anyone that has a reasonable grasp on just the sheer size of the universe would question that there are beings that have been able to evolve millions of years past us, and I'm sure they've mastered time travel. So if they're able to go back in time and to alter things, I mean, would we be aware of it? I don't know. It's like, again, it's a stream, it's a time tree, it's a river of alternating patterns, and we can actually determine, and what I do in synchromysticism and all these patterns that I collect is a way of fortune telling. It's a way, it's almost like tarot cards. It's a Nostradamus-like prophetic way of viewing the now or the past and creating a collage work that gives you a possible time tree or gives you a possible analysis of what could happen and what's most likely to happen. And to tell you the truth, what I've gained or what I've learned from the research that I've done has helped me predict future events. I don't come out and say this is what's going to happen or that's what's going to happen, but